Hello, my tutor. My name is Lianze, and you can call me Albert. So in this video, I'm going to talk about something about reverse garbage. So basically, reverse garbage is a not-for-profit organization, and its project goal this time is motivations and strategies to engage donors and customers. To achieve this goal, my research theme is to explore donation motivations to nonprofit organization. And for the research methodology. So for my research, I mainly adopted secondary research approach, which are literature review plus case studies. So from the literature review, I can basically understand the academic explanations about why people donate to nonprofit organizations. And also the case studies are the existing real evidence to connect these theoretical explanations with the real life. And for the literature review, I selected 5 academic journal articles to identify the fundamental theoretical framework of donor motivation and behavioral, which could be used to support a further research study. And besides that, I also found 4 case studies to provide practical evidence to support the theoretical findings. To be specific, in the nonprofit sector, there are South Korea and Australia case studies to support, and also in the disaster fundraising sector and charity crowdfunding sector. I found another 2 case studies to research prospectively. And also, as most of data were from academic journal articles, while they are definitely more solid with high authority, but they do exist some limitations. For example, many studies are based on past data, so they may not fully reflect the current situation. And let's talk about the findings and the analysis. So as you can see here, based on the literature review articles, the key factors that influence donor behavioral and motivations can be identified. First, according to Bentley and Kochman, donation behavior is mainly influenced by 4 factors: altruism, social norms, trust in organizations, and psychological satisfaction. So these 4 elements provide a basic framework for understanding why donors decide to donate. And to be specific, psychological satisfaction in charitable giving is often described as warm glow giving, which means donors may feel emotional satisfaction when they help others. In other words, people sometimes do not only because to support a cause, but also because giving makes them feel morally satisfied. And second, Bakers and Webkin further identified 8 mechanisms that influence the charitable giving. And this include altruism, reputation, psychological benefits, values, social influence, efficacy, cost and benefits, and awareness of need. And this research found that donations usually influenced by several motivations at the same time rather than by a single factor. So, in other words, this means that donors usually motivated by a series of different influences, such as personal values, social influence, and trust in nonprofit organizations. And for the third one, Zhu and Chen show that when the donor is a cooperation rather than an individual, the motivations behind the donors may be different. This suggests that companies may donate not only to help society, but also to improve their reputation or strengthen their corporate social responsibility. And as for the organizations themselves, that is also a big factor to influence donation factors. Like research also shows that the reputation and the transparency of nonprofit organizations can strongly influence donation decisions, which means donors are more willing to support organizations that have a good reputation and transparent systems. For example, when nonprofit organizations clearly show how donations are used and provide visible project outcomes, donors are more likely to believe that their contributions will create real social impact. As a result, they may feel more confident about donating. and this could also be proved by the case studies. For example, the case study of nonprofit crowdfunding projects in South Korea shows that project transparency and credibility can strongly influence the donor decisions. Also, the study of charitable crowdfunding campaigns also shows that clear information and transparent communication can help build donors' trust and encourage donations. And one more important thing is that some external factor can also influence donation behavior, like political environment, social culture, and unexpected events. For example, Chapman and colleagues suggest that charitable giving can be influenced by social and political cultures. And for the left-hand side case study is actually about the 2019 to 2020 Australian bushfires, which shows that disaster situations can increase people's willingness to help to donate. And this kind of situation can create strong feelings of empathy, and people are willing to help others. Also, the social media coverage and the public attention will further raise this kind of effect and attract more donations. So in fact, this actually aligns with the literature review's point about the importance of altruistic motivation. So overall, the literature review and case studies highlight several common factors that influence donor motivation. So for RG, they could strengthen its organizational credibility by building a more transparent system to show donors how their donated materials are used. Like they could be assigned an identification number to donated materials. And later, when the materials are reused to produce creative products, the final products could carry a related identification code. And this would allow donors to see how their contributions are transformed or used. And for the discussion and the implications, first, due to the time and the resource constraints, there may be some limitations in the depth of data collection. And also the limited budget means that I cannot access some professional research database tools. And the research methods using this study are mainly secondary research. So it may lack some verification from multiple perspectives. So based on these constraints and the limitations, I plan to expand the data sources. And also, I will consider using mixed methods, which means combining survey or interview research methods to enrich the data. So in the following weeks, I will continue to collect the relevant information and, if possible, conduct surveys or interviews to further support the research findings. This is my reference list. Thank you for listening.